John Hattie developed a way of synthesizing various influences in different meta-analysis according to their effect size. In his groundbreaking study, Visible Learning, he ranked 195 influences or strategies that are related to learning outcomes, from very positive effects to very negative effects. Hattie found that the average effect size of all interventions he studied was 0.40. Therefore, he decided to judge the success of influences relative to this hinge point in order to find an answer to the question, what works best in education? For this presentation, we will be looking more closely at 3 of the highest effect strategies: engagement, feedback, and teacher clarity. The first strategy that we're going to talk about is student engagement. One of the highest effect sizes on student achievement is student engagement, with an effect size of 0.54. For learning to occur through this strategy, the student has to be engaged in selective attention, which is having complete focus on the lesson being taught to them and ignoring any distractions. Once the student is engaged in selective attention, the student must move forward into sustained attention. This means that the student has their focus on the lesson long enough to make connections between old and new information, practice the information, and engage their working memory so that they can effectively process all of the lesson's information. An important component of student engagement is behavioral engagement. When students are behaviorally engaged, they are more likely to be cognitively engaged as well. A teacher can behaviorally engage students in a number of ways, some of which include learning about students' interests and home lives to build relationships, always being consistent, reliable, and having a growth mindset with students. It is also vital for teachers to make students feel safe in the classroom to ask questions, express their opinions and concerns, and make mistakes. Student errors should be celebrated in the classroom as an opportunity for learning. The other important component of student engagement is cognitive engagement. Teachers are able to help students be cognitively engaged by having clarity for students' learning that include understanding what the end learning goal is and making sure that students have a clear understanding of the goal as well. Additionally, the teachers should create learning challenges for their students that are within the student's zone of proximal development. Whenever possible, lessons and assignments should include student movement. It has been proven through research that when students are given more opportunities to move, they are more likely to retain information. Students are also more likely to remain on task, which goes back to behavior engagement. There are many ways to engage students both behaviorally and cognitively. Some of these examples include flexible seating, activating students' prior knowledge, and providing structure for quality academic conversation through tools such as conversation placemats and tic-tac-toe that provide sentence frames for students. Fan and Pick is also a great tool to use for students to practice academic conversations. The use of Kagan cooperative learning structures have been shown to heighten student engagement as well. There are many benefits of student engagement. As we just noted, when students are able to move during a lesson, they are more likely to retain information and remain on task. Additionally, when students feel comfortable expressing their thoughts, opinions, and questions, they are 7 times more likely to be academically motivated. When students are engaged in their learning, it helps to increase academic grades, reduce dropout rates, decrease bad behaviors, and increases satisfaction in their individual lives.
The next strategy we're going to talk about is feedback. On John Hattie's scale, the effect size of feedback is 0.73, which is well above the average. This is why feedback is so important in the classroom. Feedback is closing the gap between current learning and desired progress. It should focus on the qualities of an individual child's work and give them specific ways to improve. Feedback should be a guide and should answer 3 questions. Where am I going? How am I doing? And where do I go next? Where am I going is a question that should lay the foundational work for effective feedback. This is where you state your learning targets and show students what it will look like to have success in the criteria. How am I doing is the monitoring part. This is the true feedback part. All students need to have their progress monitored. Students need to know if what they're doing is aligning with your criteria, your expectations, and if they're on the right path to showing success. This can be beneficial for both students and teachers. If you see the picture on the right, this is a scale in my own personal classroom. These are all student-friendly terms that I use to ask my students how they're feeling about what we're doing in the classroom. I'm constantly asking my students to assess themselves and rate themselves on a scale from 1 to 4. This shows me if I have students at level 1, I probably need to be reteaching them because they're still confused. But if I have students at a level 4, they're so confident in this that they could probably teach the students that are not feeling confident, and I can use them as a tool to help reteach. And then where do I go next? Students need that feedback to tell them where they need to go next. Like I stated earlier, we're trying to close the gap of where they are to get to where they want to be or where we want them to be. And in order for them to do that, we need to give them direction. Feedback should be clear and specific. It should give them a next step, and it should align with the success criteria you showed them in the beginning. As you can tell in this picture, we just took math tests, and this student did very well. He used a strategy I taught him to solve this problem. Now, he met his goal, so I did give him feedback still on a next step, and his next step was to challenge himself to use a different strategy. So sometimes your students will meet their goals, and that doesn't mean we stop pushing them or we don't give them feedback. That means we push them out of their comfort zone to grow more. It's not always that easy. Sometimes we just want to get them to that next step. Maybe they're a 1, and we need to give them next steps on how to be on the 2 scale so that they know that we want them to grow continuously, and we're telling them how they can get there. Feedback is crucial for both teachers and students. It's actually been, studies have shown that feedback given by students is more beneficial because students feel like they have a voice. And when students feel like they have a voice, you're cultivating a relationship with them. It also creates a positive learning environment in your classroom, and that is beneficial across the board in all aspects of education. We want students to feel comfortable, and we want them to feel like this is their classroom and this is their place to learn. I also think it's beneficial to get families get their feedback as well. So this is a picture of a survey I give at student-teacher conferences because I want to know that my students and their families are both my priority, and I want to know if I'm communicating effectively with both of them. So this is what I give them at conferences, and it shows that I care, but it also, parents know their students best, so they know if I'm doing the best job to meet their students' needs. In conclusion, we should, as educators, all be refining our feedback to close the gap of where our students are, and we want to get them to where they want to be.
The next strategy we are going to be talking about is teacher clarity. John Hattie gave teacher clarity the effect size of 0.75. As you look over to the chart, you can see that teacher clarity has a high effect size and under the zone of desired effects. The purpose of teacher clarity is the teacher knows what the students are supposed to be learning. The teachers know how the students are going to learn. The students know what they are going to learn and supposed to be learning. The teacher and the students know what success looks like. This sets everybody up for success and lets everybody know the why or the purpose behind what they are learning. Teacher expectations. These are things that teachers should do while creating teacher clarity in the classroom. The teachers need to believe in their students' potential, set a high standard for each of their students, engage students in conversations as valued members of the learning community, and create those relationships. Teachers need to pay attention to their wait time and give students equitable time to respond to their question or their peers, offer time for peer discussion, Ensure equitable distribution of responses. So choosing students at random and giving all students time to respond to the question. Teachers also need to break down the standards and understand the different components. Teachers need to identify the verbs, how the students will demonstrate the understanding. They must understand what the verb means so they know what they are doing. This teacher also needs to identify the nouns in their success criteria, what the students have to know and what they must understand the terms and how to use that information given to them in their learning. Content. There are 3 major parts of content. Success criteria should also focus on the content purpose, the language purpose, and the social purpose. These 3 things work together to ensure learning success. Success criteria. Teachers provide success criteria through examples that show a range of equality, modeling and demonstrating, showing students how to make the decisions about equality, and negotiation, developing success criteria and partnerships with students and building those relationships. Going back to the purpose of teacher clarity. Again, the purpose of teacher clarity is to ensure students understand and the teacher understand what is supposed to be learning. The teacher knows how the students are supposed to learn. The students know what they are supposed to be learning. And the teacher and the students know what success looks like. Teacher clarity is extremely important throughout the classroom to make sure the teacher and the student has success.